Welcome to the In Story Show. I'm Devorah Spillman, your host, and the theme this fall of 2021 is Awaken Your Soul Story to align your business and your life to the calling of your soul. And it's also kind of awakening a new story for the world as well. So come on in and join us to awaken something new in you and in our world. And today I am thrilled to welcome Mare Cromwell. Hi, Mare.
Hi, Devorah. Devorah.
You're right the
Devorah, I had it right the first time.
So Mare is a Gaia communicator, a high priestess, a speaker, healer, and an author. And I have to read you one thing from her website that someone said about her that I think just opens up her spirit. Mare is not a mere person. She is an experience, a living, breathing manifestation of the love of Mother Gaia herself. And it's funny because right before this, I said, okay, you are Mare Gaia. And she said, oh, love you called me that. So I also know, Mare, that you didn't start out your career as a communicator with Mother Gaia. So tell us a little bit about the before and after. Like, I love to call it your story of how you got from there to here, because I think our stories open up these expanded possibilities for others to trust this. And it's what I call the calling of your soul. So tell us a little of your story.
Yeah. So first of all, if someone had said to me 20 years ago that I was going to be doing what I'm doing right now, I would have been like, I have no idea what that means. You're totally crazy. And
what did you do 20 years ago?
20 years ago, I was living in Ann Arbor, Michigan, helping to run an international network that was an environmental education network of students and communities around the world focusing on their watersheds and water quality. So it was environmentally oriented. I mean, my whole career, if you call it career, because what I do right now is, you can't really label it as career. I know that I have been serving the earth and Mother Gaia for all my life. From the moment I first took environmental studies classes in college and was feeling so upset and triggered by what I was reading and learning about, I've been passionate about helping to heal the planet. And so that was what I was doing then. I just finished my master's in natural resources at the University of Michigan, and my professor hired me. So that's what I was doing 20 years ago. But this is where it gets interesting, is I was a workaholic. I was grappling with a lot of depression, on and off antidepressants. And one thing I'm very grateful for is I've been well spiritually guided all my life, for the most part. There have been a few missteps and falling into some black holes that I've crawled out of with a lot of support. But I knew it was time for me to leave Ann Arbor. And all I knew was it was too flat there. And I just kept on getting this spiritual nudge. It's time to go. It's time to go. And so I thought I was going to move to Washington State because there's so many like-minded people in Washington State. And I even had this job interview and they were going to give me the job. And it was pretty chaotic because try to make this kind of succinct. I ended up not taking this amazing job in Port Townsend on the Olympic Peninsula. I moved all my stuff back to Maryland, to the Baltimore area where I lived. I was very confused. But again, it was very spiritually guided, like, you're not moving to Washington State. You are not doing this. And I thought I was going crazy. And it all makes sense to me now in retrospect, why it is I needed to stay here in this region where I grew up. But I went through a number of years of feeling very confused. And what I ended up doing was starting a book called If I Gave You God's Phone Number, in the midst of my confusion and working part-time doing this and doing that, and ended up becoming a full-time gardener for people. I had clients that I took care of all of their perennial beds, and these were beautiful homes and beautiful gardens, and I had some assistants, and it was very peaceful. And I was apprenticing with a Cherokee medicine woman for 14 years during that time. Yeah. And during that period of time, I finished and put out my first book, If I Gave You God's Phone Number. But I made a radical shift away from working international in the environmental realms. And this current, you can't even call it a hat, whatever it is you call that I'm doing, this garb that I have, this presence that I carry, this commitment, this surrender to Mother Gaia really came forward when I was diagnosed with lymphoma in late May of 2012. And I'd already committed to meet a very gifted medicine man, Algonquin medicine man. And Mother Gaia had asked him for the two of us to do a ceremony together for her. And he was very guided by her exactly what we were meant to do. It was just the two of us. And I knew, regardless of how I was feeling in this diagnosis and my freaking out, that I was going to be there. I was going to do this ceremony. So I got in my car and drove a number of hours to wherever it was on the outskirts of New England. And we did this ceremony in the forest. And right before we started, he said to me, I'm going to be bringing her energy and her consciousness into your energy body, but I don't know how you're going to disconnect afterwards. And what I said to him in the moment was, I'm not worried because I know my life is to serve Mother. I already knew that. But what I didn't know was that right at the end of the ceremony, that she would start talking to me so clearly, like you're hearing me right now. I mean, it was like this voice in my head that was not my thinking. It was not my brain. And the first thing she said to me was, if you surrender to me to the extent I will ask you to surrender, I will help you heal from this cancer without the doctors.
Wow.
So that's what happened over the next year and a half.
You healed without the doc. You did that?
I did. Yeah. And what happened was I had a gallbladder attack about 15 months after that. And I was avoiding my doctor. He would call me up and said, he'd be like, I'd really like to see you. And I'm like, well, I'm doing great. I'm doing really well. You know, I'm working on these books. And so I had this gallbladder attack and they had to do a CT scan. And what showed in the CT scan was that all of my lymph nodes, other than one, all the rest of them were back to normal.
Wow.
And my physician's like, how did you do this?
Wow.
I said, when he asked me that, I said, well, a lot of ceremony, changed my diet, a lot of emotional work, but it was really Mother, you know, I mean, it's a whole combination of things. But I want to share this with you because this whole path of surrender to serve spiritually, I mean, those who are monks or nuns or renunciates, they know this path. And I know I've had a number of past lives. I hope this doesn't weird people out who are listening, but a lot of people are open to reincarnation now. I have a number of past lives being a nun. I also have a number of past lives being a priestess. So this is in line with what I've done before. But what happened right after that ceremony with the Algonquin man was Mother called me spiritually by dolphins and whales coming in on the spirit plane and communicating to me at the end of a session, a healing session. And the call was for me to go to the ocean. And I live in Maryland, so it's not that far, like a 3-hour drive. And so within a week, I, loaded up my car, got a hotel room, was living off my savings. And I was working on a whole other book at that time. And when I filled my car up with gas, diesel, I had a little diesel VW, the gas gauge stayed on full for 110 miles. And I was watching this going, this is very weird and it's probably broken and I'm going to have a mechanic's bill and I'm really not so happy about this. And I was freaking out about my diagnosis and now my car gauge is broken. And then it started to go down normally. And I watched it for a number of miles. And finally I called out to Mother because I was talking with her, and she's talking back. I said, are you doing this? And she said, yes, this is so you can trust me. I'm taking care of you.
Wow.
I could tell you so many more stories.
Well, what happened when you went to the ocean?
What happened was I did ceremony on the beach. I learned a lot about how doing ceremony with this Cherokee teacher. I got kicked off the beach at 10 p.m. Because they closed that down on acetate. You got to clear out by 10. Finished the ceremony in the car. Then I did more ceremony in the hotel room. And then Mother started waking me up. Well, I guess it was the first or second night. I can't remember exactly how it all played out. I have all my notes from that. But she downloaded in me. She basically said, I want you to put this other book aside. I don't want you writing that book. She considered that book kind of like, it's not that important. And it was going to be a book about the divine feminine and my path and my healing journey. And she said, I want you to write. And she gave me the title and she gave me all of the chapter titles. And the title of the book is Messages from Mother Earth Mother. And then she gave me all the titles for the rest of them. And then she gave me the first message for one of the chapters. And that message, that chapter, is her message to us women, her daughters. Yeah. And the dolphins and whales gave me a message. She even told me to get up at 4 a.m. I think it was the last morning I was there. I was so tired by the time I got home. I was like, oh my God, this is a workout. But she told me to get up at 4 a.m. and I had to go online and claim the domain messagesfrommother.org and set it up on WordPress so it would be a place for the messages to go. And then I tried to set up the WordPress site after that, and then it stopped working. WordPress just like froze. I'm like, oh, I guess we're not doing that now. And then she said, now you need to go to the beach and do sunrise ceremony. It was just it was so guided. It was so guided. And that book was done in 5 weeks as soon as I got home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So where has that led you to now? Like, talk a little bit about where it's led you. How long ago was that, first of all?
That was in early June 2012.
Oh, okay. So is that book out? Like, people can get that book now?
Oh yeah, no, it was out 2 months after it was finished as a manuscript. It was written and out in 4 months.
Wow. Okay, so that's the one that's called Messages from Mother Earth Mother.
Earth Mother.
Mm-hmm. So I want you to bring us kind of into the present moment. Like, what feels like now? What are you being told now? Like, what's opening up now? And because I feel like we're also like awakening this, like, I'm talking about awakening your soul story. So that's what you just told us. And then there's also this awakening the soul story of the world, sort of. And I feel like you've kind of weighed in on that also.
Yeah. Gosh. Now. Well, I am continuing some projects that Mother's given me to do, which are not small. One of them is, you and I discussed this the other time, is she asked me in the fall of 2015 to organize the 1,000 Goddesses Gathering, which was an event first on the Washington Mall in 2016. She gave me 3 months to do that. She likes to wake me up really early in the morning when she wants my ear. And it's like, boom, 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 boom. This is what you need to do. She did the same thing in 2013. I know I'm going backwards a little, so bear with me, but she did have me do another book with her called The Great Mother Bible, which I didn't want to do at all, because I said to her when she gave me that 5 a.m. in the morning announcement that you're going to write the Great Mother Bible now, I said, Mother, I can't do that. I can't write a book with the word Bible in the title. And she kept saying, you're the one. All you need to do is listen. And it's just, the messages started coming in January 2nd of 2014, right after that. So where I am right now is we're organizing the 5th version, the 5th iteration of the 1,000 Goddesses Gathering global grid. Now it's a global grid of ceremonies around the world. And I am also teaching a year-long course. I have year 1 students and I have advanced students in the Great Mother Love Way. That's another assignment she gave me. In the fall of 2018, later in the fall, she said, now I want you to create this year-long course. I'm like, what? But see, here's the deal, is that when I balk at the things she's asked me to do, I have to remember we have this agreement. And she helped me heal from lymphoma in 2012, 2013. Now, there's another twist to the lymphoma story, though. And that is that I was diagnosed again last summer, a year ago in August, with lymphoma again. And it's not been fun. The reason my hair is this short is because I went through chemo last fall, and I actually had my hair shaved in a ceremony at a Buddhist temple right when it was starting to come out. I have a good friend who's the abbess of a Vietnamese Buddhist temple very close to me, and she shaved it in a ceremony and prayed over me and told me I was releasing and letting go. And it really was a letting go. So what I was told spiritually last year when the diagnosis came through and I was freaking out again is Mother said, this is just a bump in the road. You're going to be fine. This is to help you heal at the deepest levels what it is that's out of balance in your system that has led to the imbalance of cancer coming in. And this time I had to do the chemo. I needed to jump into the depths there. I only did 2 rounds. After 2 rounds, she said, you don't need any more. And my oncologist was not happy when I reported that to him. So I found another oncologist after that who was going to work with me with my alternative treatments and approaches. And so I'm going through a bit of rebirth, which is really akin to the rebirthing here on earth, because I consider myself a midwife to the new earth. Mm-hmm. And so with people who work with me with the Great Mother Loveway course, we really are studying to be midwives for the new earth. And I want to share an experience I had just yesterday swimming, because this is part of it, because you're asking like what's happening now.
Yeah.
When I am fully shifted out of my fears and my anxieties, which I am capable of doing more and more and more now, which is just beautiful. Life becomes a dance. Life becomes a beautiful, serendipitous, synchronicitous movement of energy and abundance and goodness. And I've been so blessed. I mean, I was taken care of. I said to Mother last year when I was sick, and I'm like, I knew I had to stop working. I said, Mother, how am I going to pay my bills? Because I live pretty simply. She said, you have nothing to worry about. Don't worry. And so a friend set up a GoFundMe, and people donated so much more than I thought I was going to need. And then my family came through with some funds, which totally blew my mind. I had no idea that was even available from their end. It's been amazing. And so in this abundance stance, my neighbors across the street have a beautiful big pool, and they're very kind people. And I dog sit for them sometimes. And I asked a couple of years ago, the first time my dog sat, I said, can I use your pool? Is that all right? Oh yeah, that's fine. And so now we have this arrangement where I go in the morning when no one else is swimming, and I just do laps, and I do little funny things in the water, and I play and I pretend I'm a dolphin. And yesterday morning I went over there and I was swimming the crawl, backstroke, and all of a sudden it hit me that this huge pool of water was a pool of love. Because I love doing water ceremony. I really believe deeply, and this is one of my awarenesses with mothers, everything is imbued with the love of the divine. It's a combination of from creator, God, Allah, whatever word you want to use, and Mother Gaia, and all these amazing spiritual beings that have brought life forward here on earth. And so, here I am swimming and realizing this huge aha that I'm swimming in love. I'm being held by love. If I just go to the deep end and just hold my breath a little, I'm floating in love. And all of yesterday, I was in this blissed out state going, wow, I'm still in it. I took a shower after it. I'm like taking a shower in love, and I'm washing my dishes with love. My hands are being bathed, and there's love pouring through my veins. And so, and when we're in that flow, and I know I'm not alone with this, it's like things happen.
Yeah.
Like this woman just told me half an hour ago, oh, no problem. I'll sign you up for my Divine Feminine app, and I'll do a feature article for you, and I'll promote you as the header in my next newsletter. And this is all for like $15. I'm like, oh, thank you, Mother.
So what do you think made it possible for you to really trust this voice? Because a lot of people, when they're starting, do not know how to discern the difference. between their higher guidance, whatever you call it. And I'm all about, there's a lot of names for that higher guidance.
Yeah.
And not everybody, I don't hear like an external voice. I've had to really learn to trust it in the way it comes to me, which is not like an outer voice at all. But it's clear. I have learned to discern it, but I think it takes something to be able to learn to trust that higher guidance, and to not and everybody calls it something else, and which I think is important to acknowledge, that it doesn't have the same name for everybody.
Oh, no, there are many different traditions and many names. And personally, because I'm so public about this communication I have with our planetary caretaker, which is really who Mother Gaia is, the only way I can do this publicly is because some gifted and Native American elders have confirmed they can tell I'm talking with her. Now that's me.
Mm-hmm.
My advice for other people when they're starting to get guidance is, one, be still. Do what you can to still your mind and open your hearts and sit in stillness. And from that place, ask for spiritual guidance. And the very first thing you hear is the truth.
Right.
It's when we doubt it so fast. I mean, I went through years of like getting guidance and doubting it. And my Cherokee teacher would tell me again and again, what was the first message you heard? That is the one that's truth. Now, there's another piece to this, is to really tune in with what you hear, and does it resonate with your heart?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, there are people who get messages who are told to do things that are kind of dark. And so this is where I even talk about this. I don't know if you want to go there in this, but we have to be discerning who we're listening to, if it's something on the spirit plane. A lot of times it's one of our ancestors, you know, they're part of our spirit team. My parents are very Catholic. I was raised Catholic. They talk about your guardian angel. And so, but we all carry an innate wisdom within us that's part of our soul body. And that's another thing, is the Cherokee teacher would say, your instincts are far wiser than your mind. Mm-hmm. Because your instincts are connected with your soul body, and your soul body is ancient.
Yeah.
So,
it's so confirming to me to hear what you learned from your teacher, because in my process where I help people, get image, metaphor, story, I always say it's ask and trust. Like literally the steps include ask, and you have to trust the first thing you get, because that's also become my experience really strongly, is that first thing you get sneaks in before your resistance.
mm-hmm.
You and your ego shut it down and say, oh no, not that. Mm-hmm. So this is a very powerful teaching for everybody listening, is that when you're asking for your higher guidance, that you trust the first thing you get.
Yes.
And there's all different ways to do it. And you become more comfortable with your voice and your name. Like I always say, like this invisible realm, we have to clothe it in something in order to hear it or talk to it. So yours is Mother Gaia. Mine, often it's just my higher guidance. I call it conversations with everything. So I often don't have just one story one way I talk to this other guidance, but it can be very creative for each person. And your story of your own guidance to your inner voice, and to trusting my Mother Gaia and taking a stand for that. What really struck me is, and this is true for so many of us, it's always been who you are, just changed your expression. Like you said, you were always about the environment. So you only had access to that intellectual path. And then that wasn't it. And that guidance has just taken you to this very powerful place.
Well, and there's another piece to this. Yeah, no, thank you for that. First of all, I want to just share that when you start really tuning in and hearing the guidance, and you get something that sounds really crazy for you to do, and yet it is what you're meant to do, trust that too. It does take courage.
Yeah.
And I think this is where my life is very spiritual, is I know we all have spirit teams, and our spirit teams have our back when we're in alignment with what we're meant to be doing.
Right.
And so this odd, I don't know if odd's the word, this different path that I've taken, I really have come to understand that this is soul contract work. And now a lot of people may have different beliefs about this, but before I was born, I believe that I made these agreements because it didn't make any sense to me why I was writing this book if I gave you God's phone number. That just seemed, that was so crazy. And yet that was, again, one of these messages, like, you need to, think about calling God on the phone. And then I got a tape recorder because the idea wouldn't go away. And which is another gauge of if something's really right for you. If the idea won't go away, follow that then. But then my Cherokee teacher said, well, this is part of your soul contract. I went, oh, okay. Well, then I won't question this so much anymore. I'm supposed to be doing this. Okay, got it.
That's a big part, I think, also is being around some kind of support, because so many women, like, we tried talking about this stuff and got a lot of negative flack. And so in order to trust it, I think we come into a time when we need to resonate with other women, other teachers who resonate and feed back, yes, I see this same truth you're seeing. And I think it, like, I don't know, rewires the inner messaging.
The support is really important.
Yeah.
We need that. It's hard when you feel like you're really going out on a limb and things are starting to feel a little wacky because of what you're being spiritually guided to do. And it's really important to have support.
And I think that is huge. So, like, summits like this where we bring everybody together and hear each other's stories, it makes you feel like I am not alone. I can trust this bigger vision calling me forward. So before we finish up, do you want to lead a little
Sure.
process?
Yeah, I
Okay.
would love to. So what I'm going to guide all of us through is a very brief meditation to connect more energetically with Mother Gaia's heart in the center of the planet. It's a healing experience. She has tremendous love for all of us, which a lot of people don't even realize. She really does exist as a powerful spiritual being. So we'll go ahead and get started. So I encourage everyone to sit comfortably. And if you can have your feet on the floor or even lie down for a moment if you want, however you're comfortable. All right. So closing your eyes, I invite you to take a deep breath in, the very bottom of your lungs, and let it go. And then take another deep breath in, the very bottom of your lungs, very depths of your lungs. And then gently exhale that breath. And now I want you to bring your attention to the very top of your spine. And visualize a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ribbon of energy starting there. It could be a cord of energy, whatever makes sense to you. And it's starting to flow down your spine. And it could be purple, it could be blue or pink or even rainbow colored. Whatever color comes to you is perfect. And just visualize this beautiful ribbon of energy traveling all the way down your spine to where it reaches your tailbone. And when it reaches your tailbone, I want you to drop the end of this ribbon of energy all the way down to the very center of our earth, which is where Mother Gaia's heart sits. And when the end of this beautiful ribbon of energy reaches her heart, Mother's actually opening her heart up even more and grasping the end of this beautiful cord and pulling it straight to her core, because that's how much she loves us. Wonderful. And now I invite you to think about your gratitude and love for all the food that you've been able to eat that's been gifted by Mother. Delicious, delicious food and water you've been able to drink, and air that we inhale all the time without consciously doing it. It's a gift from the trees, from the plant kingdom, all that oxygen. It's all sources from Mother. So feel in your heart this love and this gratitude that you have for her. And then send it down to your tailbone, down this love cord connection straight to her heart. Just send this love down to her. We don't love her enough. A lot of people don't even know that she really exists. She very much exists. Beautiful. And now I invite you to ask Mother to send her love up this love cord connection, straight up into your energy body and into your heart. Wonderful. And now you can say to her that you love her again, whatever you want to express to her. And visualize the love energy flowing between you and her heart to your heart, her energy body to your energy body. And know that you have activated a very powerful energetic connection with her that is tremendously supportive and helps her also. And so on that note, I invite you to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. And when you're ready to open your eyes, you may even want to stretch a little.
Love that. We can't overstress how important it is to take these kind of moments in our day.
Mm-hmm.
I call it stop, drop, and breathe. And
Mm-hmm.
it like shifts us out of that chaotic, frenetic,
Mm-hmm.
busy, because I just felt that, and I feel it when I go into the forest and, I do this thing called a blessing from the trees. And when you do a process, just sitting in your chair in your house, you can also just get right into that connection.
Yeah, and you were tapping into Mother's healing energy doing that.
Right.
Just as when you're out in the forest, there's a tremendous amount of healing energy that's given off by the trees and the plants and even the stones. Yeah. And these are subtle fields of energy, but they're very real.
Yeah, it's very powerful and very healing. So, thank you for doing that. Tell us a little bit about what your free gift is and how it will help people so they can stay connected with you.
Sure. The free gift I'm offering is a longer version of what I just did. And you actually are being guided to bring Mother's energy into your chakras, starting with the chakras in the arches of our feet. We have chakras there. And she's the ultimate healer. She really is. If it is so deemed that we are meant to heal and you ask Mother for help and you send her love, she is powerful as all get out. And I can really attest to that in my life. So it's a longer meditation, and people have found it incredibly healing, releasing pain in their body, releasing muscle tension. Wow. It's a bath. It's a bath of love.
Wow. Yeah. So what I encourage everybody to do is get Mare's free gift, go through the process, and then we have a Facebook group for the summit called the In Story World, and you'll be able to, and all the links will be able to come in there. And if you have questions you want to share, anything that you want to do so that we're engaging and connecting and supporting each other. And each time, like someone like you, Mare, tells your story, I think it opens up what's possible for the next person.
Beautiful. And I'll be there. I'll respond to people if they've got questions, or people can always email me off my website too. But yeah, we're all on a journey, and there's a new earth being birthed right now, and we are being called to step into our authentic true selves. Very important.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I think it makes such a difference for us to be connected together, like awakening that soul story in ourselves, and then feeling how that's having this bigger worldwide effect.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, leave us with the last thought as we wrap up.
Gosh, just, send love to your water. Every time we love the water we drink, we love the water that we shower in, we love the water we bathe our dishes in, it helps to heal the planet. The water takes in that love energy and it comes back into us. And even the water that flows through our bodies then becomes more imbued with love, which is so healing. So this is an invitation. Just open your hearts and just offer love and gratitude.
You don't have to I love that so much. I have to add this really cool thing. In my Jewish tradition, the way that you up level and heal your spiritual state is you go into a body of pure water. It's called a mikveh, and anyone who wants to alter their spiritual state, both in the physical and in the spiritual, goes in a body of water. And the other thing that's always amazed me about water is, because I love, biblical story and all that from my Jewish tradition, I looked at the beginning of the creation story, and right in the beginning when it says God created the heavens and the earth, and then it says, and the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters. It never says God created water. Like the first thing is let there be light. And later on it says God separated the upper and lower waters. And the word for heaven in Hebrew is shamayim. And if you break it up, sham means there and mayim means water. So it means there's water, sham, mayim. And so it always occurred to me that people think all there was first was air, but no, all there was first was water.
Wow.
And God separated the water to make space for air.
Wow.
Isn't that neat? And
I
so
love it.
that's why I think that's why in like the Jewish spiritual tradition, when you want to shift your spiritual state to a more pure, elevated state, you go into a body of pure water, which is that. And then and just what you're saying made me think of it, because what are we most made of is water. Right. And here you are talking about floating. I was thinking when you were talking about floating in the pool in like this water of love. And so it I don't know, it just made me think of how God, in my kind of way of thinking, created this world out of love. Well, the first thing there was water. Yeah. So it just made me look at that.
I love it. And water is love. Water is
Right.
life. Water is love.
Right. And so I just had to share that, because each of our traditions holds these like magical entry points. Yeah. And so, so that's that intersection between the earth and the water and the heavens and the earth. So thank you for sharing all that. And
no, thank you. I've loved doing this with you.
So thank you everybody for tuning in. And as I always say in farewell, remember to go out in the world, share your story, live your purpose, and be a blessing. Bye, everybody.